One morning in the playground of the elementary school, the only educational institution in the small town of C, home to over 2,000 households, children were always playing sharply. The third child, who turned 10 this year, sat blankly in the dark classroom, where the curtains hadn't yet been drawn. The stove burned brightly, its flames glowing fiercely. A kettle flashed on top, let out a gentle, boiling sound. Outside, the children's terror and the sounds of their fight could still be heard clearly. Suddenly, with the sound of clapping and bursts of laughter, the third child glanced towards the window and pulled back the curtain. The sudden flood of light made us squint. Outside, large snowflakes were silently falling in heaps. Along the fence, the clusters of Korean pine and acacia trees appeared, as if white blossoms had bloomed on every branch. In the middle of the playground, a snowman stood with wide eyes and a straight, closed mouth. The students gathered around it, clapping their hands and laughing. Their warm breaths floated in the cold air. One student takes off his hat and places it on the snowman, then sticks a branch into it as a beard. The others laugh, stamping their feet with joy. The third child smiles softly, and as she unconsciously turns her head to go outside, she suddenly catches sight of the teacher's stern face, slowly passing by the hallway. She jumps in surprise, her body shaking, as the thought of the monthly tuition fee, which she had briefly forgotten, comes back to her. They said I had to bring it today, or they'd send me outside if I did. With the thought, a feeling she couldn't describe rises in her throat, making it hard to breathe. She quickly covers her eyes with both hands. Though the window pane, the snowman's eyes, that mouth, that beard, appeared vividly, even while covering both her eyes entirely with her hands. The third child slightly parted her little fingers and let out a forced chuckle, pretending as if nothing was wrong. Kim thought, at the sound of her name being called, she thought it must be the teacher looking for her to ask about the monthly tuition fee. She quickly lowered her head, her eyes welling up with tears. But when she realized it was Bongho instead, she simply stared blankly, unsure of how to react. Look at this money. My dad gave it to me to save up, and he said he'd buy me a coat too, just as nice as the ones he wears. Proudly showing off the coin, he tossed it into his desk with a loud clink and rushed outside like a gust of wind, his arms and legs moving with unstoppable energy. The third child stared blankly after him until he was out of sight. She absent-mindedly bit a fingertip and murmured, "Why doesn't Mom have any money?" As she said this, her eyes began to sting, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She wiped her tears from side to side with her fist and muttered into the air. "My mom said she'd definitely give it tomorrow. She promised to sell some sweet potatoes and pay the tuition." Even as she said this, she couldn't shake the thought of being scolded by the teacher yesterday, and she knew the teacher wasn't likely to wait until tomorrow. Once the bell rang and the teacher stood on the platform to give orders, it seemed that she would be driven out into the snowy outdoors, sobbing uncontrollably. She wouldn't be able to learn Korean, nor would she even learn something she ought to. In that moment, the coin she had seen earlier appeared vividly in her mind. With it, she thought, she wouldn't be sent outside and could stay to learn with the other children. This thought flashed through her like lightning, rising sharply at the edge of her mind. The third child let out a soft sigh and looked at Bong's desk. Her eyes, which had been dark before, suddenly lit up with a strange light of happiness, determination, and courage. The school bell began to ring, clanging loudly. The third child was rushing uncontrollably toward Bongo's desk, as if driven by the sound of the bell.